All right, I think we can get this started. Welcome everyone to our educational webinar, and just thank you guys for joining today. Today's webinar topic is NX Immersive Designer with Sony virtual reality headset. This is one of my most favorite topic, and happy to be joined by Siemens today to present it. My name is Mason. I am the BD engineer from AT Engineering, based off in our San Diego office. I have Matt and Darren from Siemens today for this topic. They will be the one presenting and showing us how the VR headset actually works with the NX Immersive Designer. Before we dive into the actual content, there are some housekeeping notes. All attendees will be muted throughout the webinar. If you have any questions, you can type them into the chat and we'll have Matt answer them at the end of the presentation. So this one will be recorded and will be available on our ATA website as well as the YouTube channel later on. Before I hand it to Matt, I wanted to give a quick overview of AT Engineering, about who we are and how we might be able to support your team. So most people recognize ATA as an engineering service company. That's about like 80% of what we do. And we'll talk about the remaining 20% in a bit. And our core founder has been together for over 40 years, and we have vast experience providing high-value engineering services, focusing on test and analysis-driven design. Majority of our business are in the aerospace and defense industry. It's about 70% of our work, but we also work on other industries, as you can see over here. About who we are, ATA is an employee-owned small business with a full-time staff just around 200 people. Most of them have advanced engineering degree, as you can see. We have 9 regional offices across the US, and as I've mentioned before, we have years and years experience focusing on bringing high-value engineering services. This includes everything from, structure design, dynamics, thermal, vibroacoustics, CFD, and more. Test-wise, we are the leading independent modal test group in the US. We have lots and lots of experience flying our team to the article location and conduct GVT, and use that information eventually to help drive the design. So that's about like 80% of what we do, which is bring in the high value engineering service business. And aside from the 80%, this is how most of you joining today know about ATA. We are a Siemens VAR, value-added reseller, who not only sell the product, but we provide software support and training to our customers. And we really focus on products and solutions that we use, primarily design, analysis, and tests. You can see SimCenter 3D VMAP Nastran for simulation, STAR for CFD, Heat for optimization, and NX, of course, today's topic, for design. And for test, we are the Siemens partner in the US that can provide SimCenter test hardware and software solutions. And just very recently, we are awarded the Partner of the Year by Siemens in the North America region, again, showing our dedication to support our support our customers. I think this is what really sets ATA apart from other resellers, is that we sell what we use. So our customer really appreciate our familiarity of these tools, and it shows up in the hotline support that we have. So every time you call our hotline support, you are speaking with actual ATA project engineers who use the software every day and understand the problem. In addition, we teach a variety of classes, primarily dealing with simulation. We generate all the Siemens training material for Nastran software. So a lot of time when you go up online to Siemens website and try to find a Nastran class, you would either see it in Denver or San Diego, because that's 2 of the ATA locations where we teaches the class, and Siemens is just taking the registration. All right, so last slide before I hand it to Matt and Darren, I want to encourage people to visit our ATA website. We recently did a redesign of our website, so it looks really different. You can find all the information on there, including, hotline support information, which is one of the unique advantage getting your Siemens software from ATA, and free resources, including past webinars, APIs, white papers, you name it. You are able to download that from our website. All right. With that being said, I'm happy to introduce today's speaker, Matt, and take it away.
All right, thanks for the intro, Mason. I'll go ahead and share quickly here. So my name is Matt Cecil. I have been with Siemens Digital Industries Software for about 5 years now, and I am a pre-sales solutions consultant where essentially my job is meeting customers where they're at in terms of what kind of solutions they need. Specifically regarding NX, I did a couple years at our Lyft Digital Experience Center in Detroit, Michigan. And since the start of 2024, I am just full-time customer facing and primarily supporting the virtual reality solutions that we offer, namely the immersive engineering application that comes through the partnership with the Sony headset. So I'm excited to be sharing that with all of you today. My colleague Darren is here. Darren, you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
And good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Darren Beeson. I have responsibility for our design center suite of tools for anything that's kind of CAD and simulation based on those solutions. I'm really glad we had the opportunity to share this with you today because the Sony XR technology that you're going to get introduced to today really can make a difference in your engineering process, especially on the collaboration side. And I think you'll see some interesting things you didn't expect. So I look forward for Matt being able to share that with you. And I'll be in the gallery chat area. If there's some questions that pop up, I'll try to answer those for you.
All right. Thanks, Darren. That said, let's go ahead and get into it. So this partnership that we have with Sony and the new Immersive Designer is built around the idea of a couple different things. And so I see it as sort of the extreme end of the digital twin concept that we like to talk about so often, where not only now can you design a virtual version of whatever it is you're planning on producing, but you can also introduce yourself, immerse yourself into that design, and do active real-time design reviews and actually make design changes in virtual reality. So, instead of needing to just review everything at the end, you're able to kind of go back and forth, make those changes at every step of the process, and really get a more human component in not only reviewing things, but in the design aspect of that as well. And since this is built directly into NX, there is no data prep needed. You can just launch the Immersive Designer directly from within NX, and whatever part you have open will be opened within the headset, and you're able to just start going and making changes right away. And then, as we mentioned a little bit previously, collaboration is a big component of this. So now not only can you design in Immersive for the first time, you're able to bring colleagues in to a session as well. So whether you're just doing the design review or you want to actually do real-time collaboration in the design process together, you're able to do that through this tool. So really leveling up the design process in a number of ways. And so what are some use cases for this? Product performance is one such thing. You can see we've got a real-time simulation of what that might be like with a highly rendered model of that fork truck there. You can do what-if scenarios, moving parts around, swapping them out, seeing what would happen if you made a change in real time, both with the real-time live connection to NX and with the parts in 3D space. Concepts and styling, it's easier to get a hold of what your parts are going to look like in the real world and fine-tune that finish when you're able to hold the real part in your hand and make changes just like that. Ergonomics is, I think, a huge one where you can bring in key stakeholders to this process at every step of the design process instead of just at the end. So, you could actually bring your operator into this, for example, someone who's going to be standing at your design station throughout a whole shift, and they can just reach their arms out in front of them and make sure that it's at a height that's ergonomic for them. They can simulate reaching forward, and if it's uncomfortable, then you can redesign that right away by immersing them in the actual design process instead of finding out the hard way at the end and needing to make a change after you've already made your prototype. Inspection and validation. All the sorts of tools that you might expect for a design review are available, from measure to taking notes to even doing real-time cross-sections, as you see right there. And then for marketing purposes, maybe showing things off to your customers, as we mentioned, the renders within this are super highly detailed, very nice lighting. That is an image there of exactly what it looks like out of the box, thanks to a built-in partnership with Epic Games and their Unreal Engine. And there's no third-party rendering application needed to be launched separately from NX. This is built right into NX. So once you have NX open and you launch it, that's all there is to it. And then, of course, team decision making. In this little video snippet there, you can see they've got like 5 or 6 people all collaborating at one time. So you could have your whole team in there. You could have all your engineers, you could have a designer and the manager responsible for approving it, or even like I mentioned, the operator. Every key stakeholder is going to be able to be included in this process. And so this kind of goes into our concept of shifting left, where previously all these steps that are on the screen right now had to happen in sequential order. And if you got to a certain point where you realized that you needed to make a design change, then you'd have to go all the way back to the beginning and make that change. But now, by being able to include VR, not just at the end for design review, but actually doing the design in VR with real-time immersive, we're creating a process where the step-by-step sequential nature of this is a little more blurred, and you're able to go back and forth between these steps very, very easily and fluidly. So that's why we call it shifting left, because instead of waiting till you get to the end, you're able to see the changes you need to make at every step and make that change immediately without disrupting your workflow or starting completely from the beginning. And not to mention the saved time and money of not needing to make an actual physical prototype to find things out, again, the hard way. And so a use case for the collaboration is not only can you bring in every different level of stakeholder, they don't even need to be in the same place. You can have your customer in the US, design lead in multiple different locations, automation engineer in Germany, suppliers all over, production engineer maybe in India, and they're all able to be in one session with the NX Immersive Design meeting. So the collaboration does require NXX because you will invite somebody by creating a meeting and adding their named license to it. So this tool in general does not require NXX. It can be done in traditional on-premise NX, but the collaboration specifically does require NXX. And speaking of that, this does also in general require value-based licensing. And so if you have value-based licensing, then you're able to actually try out some of these applications right today just by using your existing token pool. So that's another really exciting thing, is that from the NX side, you don't need to purchase anything else specifically, provided you already have tokens. So just adding to the benefit of the token pool in general. Now let's talk a little bit about the actual headset, which again, Sony designed just for the use of modeling with NX. So they, as an existing customer, reimagined what it would be like to do design in 3D space. Think kind of the Iron Man mentality of designing, where he just has this virtual board in front of him and he hits some buttons and does his design in real time. This is getting pretty close to what that's like, by being able to use these controllers that they made specifically for this and to be able to grab things You move things around, edit the design, and really just have a lot more control and be less constrained to your keyboard. The resolution in each eye is 4K per eye, which helps for overall comfort and reduce stress. The controllers, again, are maybe not what you would expect from what you've seen with VR headsets in the past. There's two different controllers. The right one in that image there being called the pointer controller. That's how you make your main selections and lets you make very precise selections within the software for selecting commands or selecting faces within the 3D part. And then the other controller, it's called the ring controller. You can barely see it because it just fits right on your index finger like a ring, is used for grabbing the part, moving it, summoning the menu, all sorts of things like that. And that one can even stay on your finger should you want to bounce back and forth between the immersive environment and your keyboard. So very fluidly able to go back and forth between those with how they're designed. It's comfortably balanced. I can personally attest to this, having used it a good amount. It's nice and weighted from front to back. You got the visor in the front, and in the back, the part where you adjust how tight it is, and that balance seems to work pretty well. And there's more than one way that you can adjust it too. The visor flips up if you do need to go back to your computer screen for a second, and it's actually designed so you can keep your glasses on the whole time, which is not the case with every other headset. So this is very good for people who need those. You don't have to worry about whether you'll be able to use it or not. You're able to do so because you can adjust how far it sits from your face. And then there's a blackout curtain as well if you are worried about it being too far from your face and seeing too much of your environment. There's a longer curtain that you can clip on for that. And then, of course, conveniently, it comes with a nice carrying case for mobility and portability. So if you need to take it somewhere with you, then everything just fits right into that. So that's always a plus. And so there's four main components within the real-time immersive engineering that we offer, and I'll elaborate on each of these. The first being the Immersive Explorer, which is where you do your design reviews, that sort of thing, analysis, markups. The Immersive Designer, where you actually do design within the headset in NX. The Collaborator, where you bring in other people that you're working with, other stakeholders. And then visualization, since we mentioned everything looks really sharp thanks to that rendering engine, you can take advantage of that for purposes even outside of virtual reality. But no matter how you choose to use it, it's going to look really good. Getting a little more into the Immersive Explorer, again, we can iterate faster and reduce the need for rework by inspecting things on the fly, making any notes of things that we need to change, making those changes. And there's real-time design changes back to NX with live updates. So anything that you move is going to be moved in NX, should you choose to retain that move. And anything that you change otherwise, that's all going to be with a real-time connection to NX. And then, of course, if you have simulations that you want to run, maybe through the Mechatronics Concepts Designer or another tool, you can run those actually within the Immersive Explorer as well and view those. As you can see, they have the simple animation of the fork truck picking up and then placing back down. You're able to do that with all sorts of different animations. And so that's a really neat way to immerse yourself even further into this review process. And then all the favorite markup tools that you've maybe come to expect are also within there. It's really easy to navigate. The menu is very easy to figure out. You can move things around, like I mentioned. You can draw with the drawing tool, take measurements. There's a couple different ways to do that, either freehand or very precise. Sticky notes for actually typing directions. If you have your keyboard in front of you and you want something a little cleaner than just scribbling in free space, you can take snapshots, which is actually a really neat tool. So say, for example, I am inspecting and I find something from a specific location within the assembly, and I want to send it to my colleague to check out, I can take a snapshot, send them the snapshot, and if they have the same part open, they can load that snapshot, and it'll take them to the same exact orientation around the part to look exactly at what I wanted them to see. So that is another great way to further increase collaboration, even when they're not actively in your session. And then, section, you can view things inside, turn that on, keep it on if you want. You can turn it off, kind of at will. And that's just another way to see what's going on the interior of your assembly, unconstrained from, just what's going on the outside. Because just a closer look at, how that looks, really nicely rendered. Animations are very smooth. And then that brings us to part of what makes this new application really special, which is the real-time immersive engineering through the immersive designer component of this. And so one thing to note is that everything I just showed you in the Explorer, that can be done using any sort of headset. So if you want to use a Quest or Vive, or even just using it on your desktop, that is something that you can do in that tool. And that also extends to collaboration, which I'll touch on again in a moment. But if you want to try this out, see what this is like, and you already have tokens through value-based licensing, then you can launch the Immersive Explorer in desktop mode today and try that out to see if that's something that you want to dive deeper into. But the Immersive Designer, this is what Sony specifically built the new headset for, to actually make design changes while you're in immersive virtual reality. So these controllers are made just for that, and the editing component of this is only through that new headset. But by all means, you could be the designer using that headset, and you can invite your colleague, who just would be able to view it on their desktop, and they would have no issue collaborating with you. So it's great for just getting this to be as compatible as you need it to be once you already have your own headset for the designer. And so this collaboration between Siemens and Sony won Best in Show, I believe, at the 2024 CES because it is really something that is leveling up the design process. It's never been done before, actually doing modeling within virtual reality. And we think that it is the most natural way to experience the digital twin. And so there's a very strong history of technology in this collaboration from both ends, both Siemens and Sony. Again, it has a live connection to NX, so any changes that you make are going to persist back to the NX application. It's easier than ever to combine the real and digital. You can see they've got the actual camera in their right hand there, and the virtual version on the ring controller in their left. And because of the highly realistic graphics, it's kind of hard to tell the difference. And then you're also able to use virtual monitors, which are one of the coolest parts about this. On that right picture, if you can see, they actually have a virtual window of NX that's kind of taken up the size of the whole room. And so that is a way to go back and forth between the NX application and the virtual 3D environment without even needing to flip your headset up, even though the visor has the ability to do that. You're able to just stay immersed for longer. And so just another shot of the virtual monitor there, which I will be showing off further in the recorded demonstration that I have for you all. But there's also the ability to do augmented reality, which lets you see what something would look like in real space. If you have a car, for example, and you want to see what it looks like in a garage, you can do that by putting it into the actual physical space in front of you, since the headset does have cameras on the front of it. And so, anything that you want to see in actual space, you don't have to do it fully virtually. You have the ability to look at it wherever you want to see it. Here's just a quick video showing off a sample workflow of the actual design process. You can see he's got NX open on his computer there, and the actual camera sitting on his desk. He creates a virtual monitor, and he can drag that to put it wherever he wants. He's choosing to do this seated, so he can go back and forth to his keyboard if he wants to. Slips the ring controller on, so that can stay on even if he needs to type something, as you can see there. And then you can even drag the screen with that over to the other side. And then he's got the actual 3D virtual reality part there, which he can use the pointer controller, this one, to make selections on, either on the part or within the NX window. It has buttons there to make selections, as well as the ability to scroll. And the integration between the virtual and the real has never been stronger. And again, just showing how nicely balanced it is. You can see in the back there, there's that counterweight to the visor up on the front. So now the other hugely exciting part of this is the immersive collaborator, being able to iterate faster and bring your stakeholders not just into the end, but into every component of this process by creating and joining meetings directly built into NXX. Again, you do need NXX for collaboration, but the rest of it can be done without NXX in traditional NX, but all of this does require value-based licensing and tokens. So now it's possible to not only bring someone into your session, but actually do design together with a live connection back to NX. And this is done through the shared virtual meeting option, which, as I mentioned, is as easy as one user creating the meeting and the other user entering the meeting ID. So you can just send it to someone, over Teams or something like that, or whatever tool you use to communicate within your organization. And they can launch this on whatever application they have available to them. So it doesn't have to be the Sony headset for the person who is collaborating with you. As you can see here, this person is launching it in desktop mode, and there are controls for you to move around without a headset at all. But if you have a Quest or a Vive, you can launch with that too, and you can access that through the immersive settings. But there's helpful controls just by pressing H while you're in desktop mode to pull that up. If you've never done this before, you'll figure out pretty quickly how to move around, how to inspect things. So since you are not actively designing, you don't need the Sony headset. You're able to move around and inspect things. And so this is great for being able to loop in as many people as possible, because they don't need even the headset to do the collaborative design review. And so now just a sample workflow of bringing someone else into the process here. One person has created an animation, which both people can see done in real time. If one person inserts something into the assembly, then that live update will persist back to NX for both of them. They can create a virtual monitor for their own use, immerse themselves in the car. Both of them can do that independently if they're not in the same space. And so this is great because you can collaborate with people from all over the world, even outside your organization. And again, if you have a headset, they don't necessarily need one, which makes this very, very adaptable. And then the last part of this would be the immersive visualization. Since we have the very powerful graphics engine built into this, you don't need to launch anything separately. Again, it's just built directly into NX. So all you have to do, no data prep, just have the part open within NX and hit that Go Immersive button, and it will launch it in your headset, and you can, look at it very realistically with, realistic lighting. You can take screenshots, and again, you can even do this just on your desktop if you want to, and you can take advantage of the fact that there's that engine available within any version of this, the Explorer, the Designer, or Collaboration. So you can change how it displays if you want to, and you can see those updates in real time. Just kind of a sizzle reel here of some realistic renders. Again, no data prep. You just launch this, and this is just what the parts look like with this lighting and this engine. We even have a full Siemens office that you can walk through. All the changes look good in real time. And so before we move to the videos I've created to show this off, just to summarize this quick, this is available to all NX value-based licensing customers. So it does require tokens, but if you have those tokens, you are able to try this out today through the desktop mode if you would like to do so. And you do not have to purchase anything else to specifically use this, just through your current value-based licensing package. You can instantly connect people from every step of the process, all the way from execs to managers, engineers, stylists, all the way down to even the operators. So you can include every stakeholder at every step of the process to reduce your need of rework being required very late in the process. We're shifting left here. And you can improve sustainability again by not needing to create prototypes that would then become obsolete by making a change. Get it right the first time by making your prototype after you have made all your changes through testing. And you can leverage the power of this CES award-winning partnership. So now we're going to shift over to these videos that I've created for you. The first of these is going to show off the Explorer. So again, all you have to do is have the part in NX and launch with Go Immersive with the settings set to the Sony headset. And then you're able to choose between either mixed reality, which is where you would be able to see through it and see your surroundings, or fully virtual, where you end up in a space like this in the video. And so I've loaded in an F1 car that one of my colleagues made. I can move around, expect it. I have all the markup tools on a handy little tablet that is on the ring controller on my left hand. Easy movement controls also on the ring controller. I can move, rotate. On the right hand, I can grab something, and once I let go, it immediately snaps back into place. So that's great for seeing what something would look like, under the hood or behind a certain part. But if I want that move to persist, then I can just select it, swap to transform, and drag something out of the way, and then it will stay there. I can choose to show only that if I want to, so that will hide everything else. If I want to see everything again, I can just hit show all. And if I wanted to go back to place, I can just select all and hit restore selected. So everything is right back where it needs to be. Even if you moved a bunch of parts out of place, you don't have to worry about that. The measuring tool is more powerful than some others I've seen, because not only can you do freehand measurements, but you can select those glowing points there, which are based on actual points and edges within your model, to make precise measurements between those points. And if I want to get rid of that, I can just hit that delete button and move on to the next thing, which in this case will be section. So this part specifically is hollowed out. So there's not a whole lot going on under the hood here, not even like a thickness, but if you want to see inside your part, you can use this. You can turn it on and off. You can leave it in one place and continue doing other parts of your inspection if you want. You can move it around. In this case, I've let go of it, so it's staying there. And I'm just going to reposition myself to grab this, turn it off, and just set it aside for now. If I want to reuse it later, all I have to do is grab that plane again, and I can turn it on and off, place it somewhere else, and I can even snap to X, Y, and Z planes. Through markup with markers, I'm able to take notes on the fly. In this case, I just wrote hello to my colleague here who provided me with this part, but you can write whatever you want, obviously. Change the color, change the thickness of the tip. You can erase things, or you can just delete them all at once through that delete all button. You can also take notes on the sticky notes by typing them if you want to do that. And then this is an example of that snapshot option that I mentioned, where I've taken that snapshot. It's now loaded in my list of snapshots. I can move over here to the other side of the part. And if I summon that menu again, then I can see that from the list. And with a single click, it will teleport me back to the position where it was taken. And again, this is super useful for sharing with colleagues who I am not currently collaborating with in real time. If I want to point out something specific, I can say, hey, look at it from this perspective. I've sent you a snapshot. You can load it up and see things how I've seen it and call out whatever it is you want to see. And there's also a history where you can see the history of all the things you've done. And then you can change the background too. So maybe you want the car to be on Mars, see what that would be like. And you can see this further illustrates the power of the lighting in the engine, because there's kind of now an orange tint on the car. I can put it in garage also, a good place for a car to be. And this is neat. Siemens had a little fun with this. They not only have the garage as an option, but we've also got some graffiti on the wall there that says Siemens. So it's a little Easter egg from us. And there's an underwater one too, I believe. So you can see what that's like, or just loading into a room, or you can see there's like a hangar there. So a couple different options. And again, with the realistic lighting, you're going to see this pretty close to what it would look like in real life in that environment. So that is going to conclude most of the Explorer. But now to get to the fun part, we have the Immersive Designer, where it's now possible, again, to actually make design changes within virtual reality, which is something that is totally new and only possible with NX and the connection to the Sony headset. So I've got my part loaded in 3D space here. This is what would be considered the mixed reality version. Outside of my video, I would be able to actually see my surroundings here if I wanted to do so. I can grab the part, move it really easily without it just being on the floor like the car was in the last one. Very easy to figure out and control. And then now that I'm in the designer environment, I can launch one of my virtual monitors, which is found immediately under that designer interface. And these correspond to the actual monitors you have up on your computer. So whatever is on monitor 1 will be on 1, and whatever is on monitor 2 will be on monitor 2. So in this case, I have my actual NX window up on monitor 2. I can blow this up if I want to. I personally like it to be large because I like to do my modeling standing up. And I find that it helps me to touch things within NX very easily and precisely. And you can see now that my pointer is corresponding to actual mouse movements on that window. I can move it around easily, continue to resize if I want. And through that window, I have the full functionality of NX, pretty much. So I can select commands within there. And in this case, we'll just keep it kind of simple. Position it however I want to. So I can look back and forth between the 3D part and the NX window. And I'm going to choose the command for extrude. So I can move around. You can see highlighting everything. It's pretty precise to be able to go wherever I want to go, able to hit the home tab, no problem. Hit extrude. And so now, instead of selecting the actual geometry within the NX window, now that I have my command open, I can actually do the change on the 3D part. So I'm going to select a face here that I might want to change. You can see things start to highlight there that are selectable faces for this command specifically. But I want to make a change on one of these existing extrusions here and show, how precise you can be. That's a smaller part, a little difficult to grab, but I was able to do it first try. And to make the change, I can actually just drag the part in 3D space, drag the end there without having to put in a value or anything, get it exactly where I want it to go. If I want to put in a value, I can do so. But ultimately, I'm able to then just finish the command, and you can see that the change has been made. And you might notice it looks a little weird. I've got that gap there because I had a starting value on the extrude. And so if I want to change it, you change that the same way you would in NX. I'm just going to scroll down to my last change here, hit the grab button on the pointer controller, which is the equivalent of right-clicking in this instance. Just hit edit with rollback. And instead of having the value start at 10, I can just change that to until next, which is going to have it just go to whatever that starting surface is, in this case, where it was before we did this new extrusion. And you can see it updates, looks very smooth, and that was a very easy process. And then you can get a little look into how this really does reflect whatever is on your monitor here, as I accidentally popped up that little news selection there. I could even just browse the web. I could just fully use my computer within this headset if I wanted to, do your entire workday within the NX headset if you want. So showing how powerful it is, not only for design, but just really leveling up your entire, existing work process. So yeah, being able to do design in real time, in virtual reality, very powerful, can totally change the way you do things. And that's not even mentioning, again, the fact that you can bring someone into your session, collaborate with them, do the design in real time with both of you, do design reviews in real time, do the design reviews with people who don't even have the headset. The possibilities are endless, and this is a really powerful tool, and hopefully you all can benefit from it and level up your design process. So that is all I have. At this point, I can turn it over to questions if there are any.
This is Darren. I don't see any questions yet from attendees, but if you do have some, feel free to enter those in the chat and we'll address them.
One question I'll try and get ahead of, where can I try this? We have a number of digital experience centers across the country. The one I mentioned before that I used to be stationed at in Detroit, Michigan is called Lift. We also have a presence at the MXD in Chicago, and we have one of these at McNair in South Carolina, and I believe at our Silicon Valley Center as well. So wherever you are in the country, if you want to try this out for yourself, you can schedule a visit for one of those facilities. And I think the value of this is best conveyed by trying it out, getting your hands on it. It's a really, really cool way to use it and very easy to figure out. And I think you'll find that to be true if you experience it for yourself. They did a good job making the controllers very intuitive for using this for design.
I have one question from Ray. Customer buy the headset from Sony or Siemens?
That's a great question. It is in the Siemens price book. So you can just order it the same way you would order anything else through that. Darren, I don't know if you have any more details about that.
No, you're absolutely correct. And I see the second question came in from Ray as well. But to finish the first one, it's available through the account orchestration team, the sales team that you would normally deal with. If you don't know who that is, feel free to ask us and we'll sort that out for you.
Sounds good. Darren, you want to, or Matt, you want to attack on the second one? How often recharge a battery on VR headset?
That's another good question. And I'll actually answer that with something else that this can do as well. So there is the ability to do a wired connection or a wireless connection. So if you have it through wired, then you're going to have a pretty reliable connection at all times, and you won't need to worry about charging. We do recommend a 45-watt power adapter, independent from just plugging it into your computer, just for best performance. And then this is a good point to mention as well, that it does require a pretty decent graphics card, but an NVIDIA 4000 series we find is good enough. But there are settings within the application to run prioritizing frame rate versus resolution. My machine, I think I have a 4070, and I run it on resolution mode just fine without needing to drop down to frame rate. But that said, in terms of the actual battery life, if you were to use it wirelessly, I have never run it completely out, but I know you can get a good couple hours. I've used it before, after, just not like charging it overnight, and it's been fine. But I would imagine you probably safely get at least 3 hours out of it in one go without needing to charge. And then, if you need to charge it again, you can then switch even to that wireless connection, or just continue doing, to the wired connection, or just continue using wireless and be plugged in. That's an option for you as well. So sorry, I wish I had a better number for you, but it seems to be pretty strong, at least a couple hours.
Thanks. And I do want to ask one question that I feel like people are probably confused about. Can the NX Immersive Design being used on other VR headset, or is it exclusive for Sony?
The design is exclusive to the Sony headset, because we have the partnership with them. They built the headset specifically for that. The controllers are kind of built specifically to do that design, and they have a button within the headset specifically to launch NX. But everything else, the collaboration and the immersive explorer. So if all you want to do is design reviews and collaboration, you don't actually want to do any modeling within the immersive environment, then that is compatible with the other types of headsets, being like the Quest, Vive, or even, as I mentioned before, just being able to launch it on your desktop without a headset. So the only part that does require the headset is the designer, but that part does require it.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Another question from Ray. Did Sony develop this to meet their own needs using NX in their own product design?
Yeah, so they were an existing NX customer, and they one of their execs approached one of our execs and basically started a conversation where they said, we love using this product, but we think we could make this a little more seamless if we introduced virtual reality directly into the design step of things, and that led to conversations that led to them creating this based on how they thought they could benefit from it in their own workflows. And so it is built based on informed customer experience in terms of what would be useful for a design process, not just based on what they thought in an abstract sense. This comes from real people who use NX and how they best see it helping their day-to-day workflow.
Yeah, I got the chance to try it in one of the event, and it really surprised me that it's different from the other VR headset, that you can just flip the that thing up and down to look at the computer screen. So I think Sony did a good job on this one.
Yeah, it's very ergonomic. Between that and the fact that you can continue wearing glasses with it, it's nice and balanced weight-wise. They did a good job from considering a user using this for maybe several hours at a time, that it's going to be comfortable for that. And as I mentioned, you can, with the virtual monitors, you can just do things outside of NX if you wanted to on it. So you really could just sit there for hours at a time comfortably, doing your whole day's worth of work within the headset if you wanted to.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, we'll just end this early. And if there's any future questions, feel free to reach out to ATA or reach out to Matt. With that, let's conclude the webinar. Thank you again, Matt and Darren, for supporting, and thank you guys for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.